Okay, fans, here at Swain County and, of course, at Memorial Stadium, just under Gary Ayers' press box, we meet up with Gary Ayers. Gary, first of all, how you doing these days?
Hey, doing great. It's a great year, Brandon. It's a great year to be in the Smoky Mountain Conference, as always. And, of course, our Maroon Devils are having a really, really good year, 7-0 on the season. So, yeah, life is good.
That can't be too bad. But, hey, one of the reasons we stopped by to talk to you is, hey, it's for Murphy fans, it's Swain week. For Swain fans, it's Murphy week. And that means it's a big doggone week.
Yes, it is. And you know, that's all you have to say, Brandon. Swain versus Murphy. Because for so many years, going back especially into the 70s up to the present time, most of the time, the Smoky Mountain Conference championship either went through Swain or it went through Murphy. You know, we've had some years that Rosman won it. Andrews had a great year last year. Robbinsville's had some fantastic years. But for so many years, Murphy and Swain were the 2A teams before they got moved down to 1A. And it was always Swain and Murphy going head to head with iconic coaches, with some of the best players ever. So this rivalry, to me, has no better rivalry in the mountains.
And there's a lot of gold in between those years too.
A lot of gold indeed. So many teams have been involved in that, and so many state championships.
And even if they didn't win the state championship, they were there in the game.
They were. We've had so many great players, as we mentioned, over the years, like the Heath Schulers, and of course, like this year, Hunter Stockup is a great player. You know, so many guys that really have stood out over the years, but the coaches and the friendships you make over all those years, even some of the PA announcers.
Well, no, there's one PA announcer that says, you know, there's a difference between heaven and Hades, and that's 48 miles. But what do you think when you hear that? I mean, what makes this rivalry so special, do you think?
You know, I think because of the excellence both teams have shown over so many years, the tradition is unbelievable. And if you think about the Smoky Mountain Conference, we have more state championships than any conference in the state of North Carolina. The excellence, the tradition, the two communities that are so similar with like I just say, just hard-nosed, tough country boys who have really come together and make great teams.
Now there's some rivalries in Western North Carolina. I think of like Morganton with Freedom, and you know that's Fat Friday, or right. Tuscola Pisgah, a Sylva/Smoky Mountain Franklin rivalry, right. And even here right. in the Smoky Mountain Conference, I guess you get Cherokee Robbinsville, because there's Cherokee Indians that play in both those. There's a Murphy Hayesville. There's a Swain Sylva. But this one kind of has to be real special.
I think this one is more special a little bit because the two iconic coaches, for one thing, with Coach Boyce Dietz and Coach David Gentry, had so many wins and so many state championships between the two. Now, I know Robbinsville is going to say, well, hey, we have a lot of state championships as well. I will say this, most of the Swain Murphy championships basically went through each other when Robbinsville was 1A. So there's a little different angle there. And I think just Swain Murphy, even when I was in high school back in the early 70s, when Murphy was great with Willie Brown, that takes you back a day
right.
or two. There are just so many storylines. We could go on and on and on for hours. Unfortunately, we don't have hours
nope.
on this show, but so many great memories.
Well, any one particular game that comes to mind, or any one particular play, or anything that, whether it's a Murphy win or a Swain win, or anything that just pops up? Maybe I'm putting you on the spot there, because like you say, there's so many that come through here. And maybe even like the, you know, it's like the night that Coach Gentry wants to march his team down the field and Coach Dietz locks the gate on him, or you know, anything like that. You know, any funny story?
Yeah, you know, there was one year I remember distinctly. Murphy was fantastic. They probably had the best team in the conference, as they proved later. They came over here to Swain in the regular season. I remember it was cold, and Swain won the game, and big upset. But then, just a couple of weeks later, Murphy had to come back to Swain in the state playoffs, and Murphy just unleashed all its weapons and won that playoff game. That shows you the rivalry and the intensity those two teams had.
And of course, Coach Gentry, as you mentioned, won his 414th out here. There's a lot of history here, a lot of great players. Well, looking forward to a Friday night with you guys and with Swain Murphy. But hey, I'll end it by saying, go Bulldogs, Swain, and go Swain Maroon Devils. I can't break it down anyway.
Just like in some movie, it's going to be Devil Dogs.
All right, a word with Coach, with announcer Gary Ayers, and probably a coach on the side, up in the side. But hey,
in my dreams.
But as we say, like we go back up, and yeah, if you look. The press box, Gary Ayers press box. But one last little thing. You've been around in, let's see, how many schools have you announced? Now, you're more iconic here with Swain.
Right.
But a time or two at Sylva.
Right.
Franklin.
Right.
You were Gary the Bear over at Pisgah for a little while. And then and I think you've actually been to Sylva. You filled in for me a time or two at Mustangs.
Yes, I've done some Cherokee games.
And one secret that he won't let out is that he actually broadcast a Murphy game as a Murphy announcer with Dennis Jean.
Yeah, I don't tell anybody that.
All right, Team FYN visits with Gary Ayers.